Chapter 84, Madame Shangyu Part 1. Chapter 84, Madame Shangyu Part 1. You? Mu Yue didn't expect the servant to dare to talk to her in such a manner. The ferocity in her eyes intensified greatly. She purposely suppressed her voice as she hollered, "Are you seeking death? This Missy's status is so noble, you aren't even worthy to be compared to this Missy's shoe." Ming Xiang laughed coldly. "Young mistress, I won't spread this matter. But once you do anything that will threaten this servant can only seek protection. This servant knows that he can't be compared to young mistress. But this servant will write of this matter and place it in a bag and pass it to someone. If something were to happen to me, he will announce this matter to the world and let everyone know that young mistress had lost her innocence to me. This undergarment that was used to cover your chest and abdomen shall be treated as a token young mistress gave to me as a sign of affection." Upon saying that, he didn't watch Mu Yue's expression and just picked up the undergarment before flying out of the room. When Mu Yue came back to her senses, his parting figure was already far away. She had missed the best chance to kill him. If she were to head out now, there would definitely be many people that would know what she had done. Mu Yue bit her pink lips. Deep hatred filled her heart. She would blame this matter on Mu Yue. The only one that hated her within this Phoenix City was only Mu Yue. Thus, it must be she that did this to her. "Mu Yue, I'll make you live a life worse than death." Frosty rays of light glimmered in Mu Yue's eyes. Her charming and adorable face turned malevolent. She would definitely pay back the humiliation she'd experienced today by folds to those people. "My lord, it should be fine this way, right?" While Mu Yue cursed Mu Yue, Ming Xiang left the Mu Manor. After making a few turns, he met with a man. This man wore a silver mask. His beautiful eyes were filled with a sinister aura and his enticing lips curled upwards into an eerie smile, which made people shiver in fear. "You have done very well. I'll send people to protect you. Your task is to go and harass her every day." The man coldly gazed towards the far horizon with a trace of iciness in his eyes. "Mu Yue, you dared to try hurt her. I'll make you live a life worse than death." Thinking about the red-clothed, enchanter-like figure that had been hiding behind a tree, the man's gaze darkened slightly. With his lips sinisterly curled upward, he ordered, "Yun Han, go and investigate that man's identity." "Yes, master." An icy voice rang out behind the man. Once he said the words, the atmosphere regained its tranquility and the wind stopped blowing. The man smiled as he used a slender finger to caress his lips. His smile was incredibly mesmerizing, making people want to know how handsome his face was behind the mask. "No matter who that man is, you will always be only mine. He definitely wouldn't let that girl be taken by other men. Her heart would forever be his, only his." But that man was a step faster than him in drugging Mu Yue. But nobody would move faster than him next time. "Yun Tian, summon Yuning back. I'll leave for a period." Thinking about that girl's smile, the silver-masked man grinned. He must use this period of time to gain her heart in order to prevent other men from stealing it. He would not lose her this way. Son. Dan City was the venue for the Pill Assembly. It was probably due to the Pill Assembly that Dan City was filled with people. When Mu Yue first stepped into Dan City, she could feel the aura of numerous experts. The Pill Assembly was indeed an event that gathered experts. At this moment, a horse carriage charged over from the front. In that instant, people simultaneously stepped out of the way of the carriage. But at the center of the road, there was a little girl of approximately 3 to 4 years old standing there unmoving. It appeared she didn't see the nearing horse carriage. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 85, Madame Shangyu Part 2. Chapter 85, Madame Shangyu Part 2. The crowd sucked in a cold breath. They could already imagine the scene of the child being run over and becoming meat paste. They couldn't help but sigh in pity. The adorable girl that seemed to be as tender as a bun was going to die under the hoof of the horse carriage. However, even if they felt pity, nobody stood out to save that little bun, as that horse carriage had the Qin family's crest. The Qin family was an alchemist clan. There was also the talented girl from that clan, Qin Fei Fei. The Qin family had always been used to being arrogant and despotic. Who would dare to go against the Qin family? At this critical instant, a sword aura pierced through the air. Hon! The horse carriage was instantly split apart completely. A figure frantically rolled out of the horse carriage. Who is it? Who just made a move on this young master? Nobody cared about him, as the way the Qin family acted was indeed too domineering after all. They always looked down on people and committed countless crimes. That little girl turned pale. Fear was shown on her tender face. Sparkling tears welled up in her eyes, almost falling from down her face. Suddenly, a heavenly sound could be heard from above her, causing the frantic heart of the little girl to mysteriously calm down. The girl blinked her long eyelashes as she raised her eyes slightly to look at the person before her. It was an elder sister. She looked really pretty, perhaps prettier than her own mother. Even though she wasn't smiling and had a cold expression, it somehow gave off a feeling that made people want to go near her. Ru Yue's heart softened when she looked at the little girl. There seemed to be some power in her blood that guided her to subconsciously save this adorable little bun. It's too dangerous here. I'll bring you home. Ru Yue held onto the little girl's hand with a slight raise of the lips on her exquisite face. Seeing this attractive smile, the little girl expressed an adorable smile. Elder sister, you're really pretty. Qing likes you. If I can bring this good-looking elder sister home to be paired with elder brother, elder sister will be able to stay forever with the Xiao family. Hey! Stop right there! Just as they were about to turn around and leave, an arrogant holler was abruptly heard. Ru Yue glanced at the offender before icily shouting, "Scram! You're too audacious!" Qin Luo furiously shouted. Do you know who I am? I'm the young master of the Qin family. You dare tell me to scram? Who do you think you are? First you destroyed my horse carriage, then you insulted me. If I don't teach you a lesson, then you won't know why Lord MANHWA has 3 eyes. Ru Yue's eyes slightly narrowed and her impeccable appearance became increasingly cold. Her gaze contained an ice-cold intent. Before she could make a move, however, a pleasant voice like soft notes was heard from behind. With a shallow smile, she said, "Oh? I don't know why Lord Ma has 3 eyes. Can this mister please enlighten me on that and increase my knowledge?" As those words were said, the sound of a jade pendant chiming was then emitting constantly. At this instant, everyone looked behind Ru Yue. There was a white-clothed, beautiful lady. If her looks were to be described, then it would be only spoken of as devastatingly beautiful. Even though she dressed up as a madam, it still couldn't cover up her outstanding beauty. Her figure was graceful and filled with posture. She could captivate souls even when she didn't intentionally try to charm people. This was the first time the crowd saw such a stunning madam. It is a legend that someone did something wrong and digged out one of his eyes to give it to Lord Ma as a repayment for his wrongdoings. Or so I googled, hahaha. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 86, Madame Shun Yu Part 3. Chapter 86, Madame Shun Yu Part 3. Mother. The little girl withdrew her hands from Ru Yue before dashing towards that young madam. She then roughly jumped into her embrace before adorably giggling and saying, "Why has mother come?" You still say that? The young madam tapped the little girl's nose twice before saying lovingly, "How can I not worry with you coming out by yourself? I really don't know where you inherited this mischief gene from." The little girl stuck out her tongue before smiling adorably. Mother, just now this bad person wanted to use the horse carriage to knock Ching down. Luckily, this elder sister helped. If not, Ching wouldn't be able to meet with mother again. Oh? The young madam's expression darkened slightly. She looked furiously at Qin Luo as she asked with a cold smile, "Did you try to hurt my precious daughter?" Humph. Qin Luo coldly snorted. Who told this little girl not to get out of the way? If she died from the collision, then so be it. I, Qin Luo, am from the Qin family. It isn't a big matter to kill a person. The Qin family's powers were so great that they had some right to give input at the pill assembly. Didn't everyone come here for the pill assembly? It couldn't be that those people would dare to go against the pill assembly, right? Qin family? The young madam sneered. So what if it's the Qin family? I won't let you get away so easily for trying to knock down my girl. Xiaoyi, pass down my order to stop every business under the Qin family. Moreover, make that old head of the Qin family personally come forth to apologize. Otherwise, I won't return him his son. The crowd was stunned. Nobody knew what identity the young madam actually had that would allow her to pass down such a heavy order. What status did the Qin family have? They were people that held an extremely high status within the pill assembly. Idiot! Qin Luo coldly sniggered as he looked disdainfully at the young madam. Just when he wanted to say more, someone at his side pulled on his sleeve. Young master, look at the jade pendant at her waist. It was actually able to give off a rainbow color under the sunlight. If your subordinate hasn't guessed wrongly, this lady should be Madame Shengyu. What? Qin Luo's expression changed abruptly. Madame Shengyu? How did this happen? I'm finished. I'm completely doomed. Father will definitely beat me to death for provoking Madame Shengyu. Even if Qin Luo didn't have much brains, at this moment, he wouldn't even dare to think that Madame Shengyu's jade pendant had been stolen. Firstly, there was no one that dared to steal Madame Shengyu's belongings. Secondly, with the strength of Madame Shengyu, how could someone so easily steal her personal jade pendant? Thus, this said that the person before him was the genuine Madame Shengyu. I'm finished. It's over. Qin Luo's legs buckled as he sat on the ground with despair. Even if the others didn't know Madame Shengyu's identity, they could infer it from how Qin Luo was acting. This madame's status must be extremely high for a member of the Qin family to be so frightened. This lady, I thank you for saving my little girl's life. Madame Shengyu no longer looked at Qin Luo and turned around to walk over to Ru Yue's side before saying with gratitude, "If you need any help in the future, you can come find me anytime. Currently, I am staying at the Purple Cloud Inn for a period of time." Madame Shengyu didn't know why, but when she looked at Ru Yue, an indescribable feeling arose in her heart that made her want to get close with Ru Yue. If her eldest daughter wasn't kidnapped that year, she should be at her age. Thinking about her lost eldest daughter, Madame Shenyu's heart turned sour. She had been trying to find the location of her eldest daughter after all these years, but there still wasn't a single clue. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 87, Madame Shengyu Part 4. Chapter 87, Madame Shengyu Part 4. Thinking about this, she couldn't help but secretly wipe away her tears before saying with a slight smile, "That's right, I don't know your name yet." Ru Yue. Ru Yue didn't have any ill feeling towards this Madame Shengyu. "Lady Mu, is it alright if I call you Yue?" An exceptional smile was visible on Madame Shenyu's face. With anticipation in her eyes, she continued, "I once had a daughter who was kidnapped in the past. She would have been your age by now. Seeing Lady Mu reminds me of my pitiful daughter who went missing when she was only a month old. It's unknown whether she is still alive." When Mu Yu saw Madame Shan Yu's face that was filled with anticipation, she nodded without hesitation. Don't worry, madam. You will definitely reunite with her if it is fated. We'll reunite again if it is fated? Madame Shan Yu muttered that sentence before shifting her gaze to Mu Yu and saying with a smile, I will take Yue Er's blessing then. I also believe that my daughter's life force is strong. She must still be living, somewhere. You must have come here for the pill assembly. If you are in need of assistance, you can come to Purple Cloud Inn to look for me. I can provide you with assistance at any time. I can't guarantee this in other places, but nobody will dare to touch a single hair on you here. Madame Shang Yu had a confident smile on her face. She was naturally this confident because she was a person from Shang Jing's Xiao family. In this world, if one excluded some powers from the central region of the continent, who else wouldn't be afraid of the Shang Jing family? Xing Qing, let's go. Madame Shang Yu lowered her head to hold Xiao Changqing's hand as she spoke gently. Xiao Changqing blinked her adorable eyes as she fluttered her long eyelashes at Mu Yu. With a sweet smile on her jade-like face, she waved her hand at Mu Yu while saying reluctantly, beautiful elder sister, you must come to look for Qing Qing. Qing Chang will be waiting for you at Purple Cloud Inn. Madame Shang Yu looked surprised at Xiao Changqing. She knew her daughter's personality well. Qing Qing didn't like to interact with strangers ever since she was young, but this seemed to exclude this young girl before her. I will. Mu Yu lowered her gaze to look at Xiao Changqing. She held great affection towards this adorable little girl. Otherwise, she wouldn't have saved her. She didn't know where such feelings came from. She just didn't want any harm to come to this girl's way. Madame Shang Yu smiled and nodded at Mu Yu. Following that, she nodded at Huang Xiaohe. Huang Xiaohe immediately lifted Qin Luo, ignoring his resistance, as he wordlessly followed after Madame Shan Yu. Son. The current Qin Luo regretted this all too greatly. If it wasn't for him wanting to reach the pill assembly early and had the horse carriage driver speed up, perhaps he could have avoided this calamity. By the time the head of the Qin family arrived, Qin Luo had been tortured by Madame Shan Yu's subordinate and was hanging on to his last breath. Who didn't know that Xiao Changqing was Shang Jing's little princess? Everyone couldn't help but dote on her. Who could bear for her to lose a single hair? If it wasn't for that lady Mu Yu's help today, the little princess would have died already, so their actions towards Qin Luo wouldn't be light. The head of the Qin family wouldn't be able to avoid using his family treasure, the water-repelling bead, to exchange for his disappointing son's life. Of course, that was after the others were satisfied with torturing Qin Luo. From now on, the young master of the Qin family would no longer be able to have sexual intercourse. 1. The day for the pill assembly had finally arrived in the midst of this commotion. 1. Mickey, I think I heard snip snip behind the scenes with a hair-raising shriek. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 88, Pill Assembly. Chapter 88, Pill Assembly. The participants and their various factions had already entered the venue for the pill assembly. Chatter filled the entire venue. Currently, there was a red-clothed elder sitting at the judges' panel. He was smiling and stroking his beard while looking down at the youthful faces. This is so nostalgic. Previously, we had also participated in this exciting event. Hee hee. And now we are all here. Following this, it will become the era of these youngsters. A yellow-clothed elder shot a glance at the red-clothed old fellow as he chuckled and replied, Elder Flame, I remembered that the champion for that year should have been that old fellow, Wu Yu. Who knew that he had to settle some matters halfway and lost to the president? That old fellow had always been unsatisfied. He had mentioned that he would definitely recruit a disciple that possesses skills stronger than the grandson of the president. I wonder if he has found an exceptional seedling after so many years. Hearing that, the red-clothed elder known as Elder Flame laughed. It is due to this matter Wu Yue had always been unsatisfied, so he didn't even join the pill assembly with us and instead became the chief alchemist of a sect. However, the disciple that enters Wu Yue's eyes will without a doubt be an exceptional talent. After all, that old fellow had always been sharp-eyed. Moreover, with the existence of the president's grandson, he will definitely not recruit any disciples that cannot exceed the president's grandson's talent. Elder, he sighed. How great would it be if Wu Yue joined the pill assembly with us at that time? The president had also been reminiscing about him these days. He keeps saying that he was just lucky at that time and won without glamour. He wants to compete with him once more, but they have already aged. Competing should be for the younglings instead. The two elders looked at one another before bitterly chuckling simultaneously as they thought about what happened that year. Forget it, let's stop talking about this. I also don't know what good seedlings we will encounter this year. I've heard that both the Qin's family Qin Fei Fei and Tan Cheng from the Tan family are quite talented. Elder Flame smiled. Honestly, when he was looking at these youths, he was moved to recruit a disciple again. But I am looking forward to the appearance of a dark horse instead. It would give more meaning to this competition. Who knew that once those words landed, a black-clothed elder, who was silent until now, coldly snorted with disdain. Dark horse? How could a dark horse appear? The champion will undoubtedly be the president's grandson, and the runner-up can only be Qin Fei Fei from the Qin family. Qin Fei Fei had recently reached the Earth stage low rank level. For her to reach such a stage at 17 years of age, her talent will only be second to the grandson of the president. Elder Flame chuckled, before giving a non-committal reply. That might not be the case, Elder Qin. It is better to not say anything too complacently. There are many anomalies in the world after all. Upon saying that, Elder Flame ignored the ashen-faced Elder Qin as he shifted his gaze to look back down at the youngsters. Younger sister, it's her. Currently at the venue, Qin Luo singled out Ru Yue in the crowd with a glance. A trace of hatred flashed in his eyes as he commented, "She was the one that struck my horse carriage. If she didn't, I would have been able to charge away from the scene. I then wouldn't have been caught by Madame Sheng Yu. Moreover, my horse might have not even crashed into that little brat. If it wasn't for her butting in, how could I be in such a state now?" As he thought about this, Qin Luo once again felt an intense pain all over his body. Qin Fei Fei followed Qin Luo's gaze to look at a young girl not far from them. A trace of iciness flashed past her exquisite face. She knew her elder brother's character. He was a typical bully, abusing his power to tyrannize others. He was undisciplined and out of control with the power of the Qin family under him. But who made him be the only son of the Qin family, spoiled by their father and mother since young? It was definitely an excuse when he said that he might not have crashed into the girl. But no matter how terrible Qin Luo was, he was still her elder brother. The event is hosted by the Pill Assembly this time. Even though there are people from the Qin family in this Pill Assembly, there will definitely be a rule stating that it is forbidden to personally hurt participants, so I can only make her look unsightly in the competition. It really wasn't worthy for her to place importance on a human stage mid-rank alchemist. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 89, This World Had Become a Fantasy Part 1. Chapter 89, This World Had Become a Fantasy 1 Part 1. Cough. Cough. Following 2 dry coughs, the entire venue regained its tranquility. Elder he surveyed the surroundings with a strict gaze. After seeing everyone becoming absolutely silent, he smiled and continued, "All right, everyone enter the competition arena. I will announce the rules for the first round of competitions." When the crowd heard his words, they orderly entered the competition arena. The first round of the competition is extremely simple. It is to differentiate medicinal plants. I have prepared many medicinal plants for every single one of you. You just have to list at least 5 of the medicinal plant's characteristics and a pill formula. The time limit will be the time it takes to burn an incense stick. Anyone that couldn't complete this task in that time period will be eliminated. Alright, may the competition begin. Upon saying that, Elder He closed his eyes to rest in the meantime. Someone immediately lit an incense stick in front of him. Following that, the fragrance of incense permeated everyone's nose, making them want to fall asleep. Everyone was astonished. This was probably the most famous sleeping incense that would cause the inhaler to enter a dreamy state. It seemed that this competition didn't just test their skill of medicines, but also tested their willpower. Instantly, some people began to viciously pinch their legs and force themselves from falling asleep. There were only 4 people that maintained their usual state in the crowd. 2 of them were Ru Yue and King Fei. There was also a delicate and handsome young youth. That young man was standing straight like a pine bamboo. His eyes seemed to be as dazzling as the light from stars, and they always remained focused on the medicinal plants before him. If that young youth were to be described, then it would be that the instant you saw him, you would momentarily seem to be looking at an enchanting world. He was also like the upright bamboo in the forest, so mesmerizing to look at that everyone's attention couldn't help but be drawn towards him. King Fei from the Qin family and the president's grandson's ability to withstand the sleeping incense is unquestionable, but what about the other 2's origins? Can it be that they will become the dark horse in this competition? Elder Flame stroked his beard as he looked at Ru Yue before halting his gaze at a black-robed person not far from her. It was unknown why, but when he looked at that black-clothed man, he felt slightly uncomfortable. Why does that man's aura makes me feel uneasy? It seems I should send someone to check on his origins. Elder Flame didn't think much about him and withdrew his gaze as he looked at the youngsters below with happiness in his eyes. That little girl isn't simple. This proves that her mentality is great for her to be able to resist the sleeping incense. A human stage mid-rank? Hee. This competition is getting increasingly interesting. He was also becoming more excited. Son. All right. King Fei placed her pen down before walking towards the 3 elders, the judges for this competition. She respectfully handed over her paper as she said, to the 3 elders, "These are my answers." So it is Fei. Elder He smiled and said, "You just have to place the paper down before heading back to your seat." "Yes, Elder He." King Fei slowly retreated. Moreover, since she was the first to hand over the paper, it caused a commotion to erupt from below. It's King Fei. She is really fast. The championship should be hers this time. Ha. Don't forget that there is still Mr. Qingyu, the grandson of the president. His ability mustn't be underestimated. No matter what, it is still King Fei from the Qin family that got the advantage in speed. Under the discussion of the crowd, the others also handed over their paper. Qingyu took his paper and walked forward. With a slight smile on his handsome face, he nodded towards the 3 elders before walking back. Currently, there was only a small portion of people that hadn't handed over their paper. 1. Mickey, it is Mickey's world now? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 90, The World Had Become a Fantasy Part 2. Chapter 90, The World Had Become a Fantasy Part 2. Pa. Under the crowd's gaze, the black-robed man placed the pen in his hand down. He then took up the test paper from the table and slightly blew the ink dry before walking towards the 3 judges. Elder He placed the test papers to the side before looking at the burning stick of incense. He then calmly said, "There is only 10% of the time remaining. I hope that the rest could speed up a little, as once the incense stick burns out, you will be eliminated. What could be done in the last 10% of time? 1. Some of the people couldn't help but give off a cold sweat. Only Ru Yue remained collected, calmly writing as though she hadn't heard him. Had I guessed wrongly? Elder Flame frowned. This is just basic knowledge. Can it be that she isn't the dark horse of this competition, seeing that she is taking so much time? Resisting the sleeping incense stick might just be a coincidence. Just as the last bit of incense fell, and Ru Yue finished writing at the last moment. Her luck is not bad to be able to finish at the last minute. Qin Fei coldly glanced at Ru Yue, who was walking towards the judges. With a cold sneer, she had previously thought that girl wouldn't be able to pass the elimination round. But wouldn't this be more interesting for her? If her opponent was too weak, it would be pointless beating her. Therefore, Qin Fei actually hoped that she could pass the elimination round. Alright, time's up. Everyone, place your pens down and wait for the result. But hearing those words, those youths that hadn't finished their paper walked out of the arena dejectedly. They knew that they were definitely eliminated. Elder He didn't care about the others' expression as he started reading the papers of the competitors. Only Elder Qin sat at the side, not looking at any of the papers. He already knew the result, so why would there be any difference looking at the papers or not? Elder Flame, look at this person's writing. Suddenly, Elder He excitedly held up a paper. I have been wondering why, when I previously tried to use the fire cloud grass and starlight seed to refine into a pill, it had always failed. It seems that it was due to me leaving out an ingredient. Moreover, I also didn't know that the skin of purple cloud has such an effect. This is my first time knowing this. If this paper had just random words written down, Elder He wouldn't be this agitated. With the detailed explanations on the test paper, it made it impossible for him to not believe it. Furthermore, the entire page of the test paper was filled with words with components of medicinal plants detailed differently. There were also many that they hadn't heard of. In addition, there were more than 10 types of pill formulas written. Ru Yue, Elder He muttered that name. With excitement in his eyes, he continued, this fella must be a genius. That's right, she must be an absolute genius. A person's memory was limited. Even if her master were to tell her all of this, how could she remember so much? Even that little brat Qin Yu had only written 6 types. What? Elder Flame snatched the paper over. When he read what was written, he seemed to be enlightened. So that was the case. I was wondering why 3 of my pills failed to refine. It was due to this. I haven't finished reading. Don't snatch it from me. Elder He viciously glared at him before quickly snatching the paper back. While he read, he suddenly had an unprecedented understanding. You? Seeing this old fellow acting so shamelessly, Elder Flame puffed his beard and glared at him in anger. Unfortunately, he couldn't do anything but stick his head towards him and view it together. 1. Mickey, if it is Mickey, Mickey will be staring at the incense and thinking, is this hell ending if Mickey was in the competition? Then again, Mickey might just sleep at the very start after thinking, what a nice scent. I shall snooze a bit. Well, if that day Mickey was determined, Mickey might last. Who knows? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 91, This World Had Become a Fantasy Part 3. Chapter 91, This World Had Become a Fantasy Part 3. Everyone was stunned as they didn't know what made the 2 elders have such frequent changes in expression. They ranged from frowning to showing an enlightened appearance. While everyone was nervous, a clear laughter was transmitted across the entire venue. I understand. Ha ha. I finally understand. Those previous difficult problems have been solved. The profits gained today are great. Even though the current Ru Yue standard in pill refining wasn't as good as this elder, there wouldn't be anyone better than Ru Yue in analyzing the components of medicinal plants and pill formulas. She had been from a medicinal aristocratic family in her previous life, after all. Moreover, this abnormal girl also possessed the Book of Alchemy, which many experts sought after. Basically, if the Book of Alchemy was in a person's possession, then it would no longer be a dream for them to become the world's strongest alchemist. When the crowd saw Elder Flame heartily laughing in a crazed manner, they looked at one another with curiosity displayed on their faces. Cough. Cough. Elder He dryly coughed twice before continuing with a smile. All right, the result for this elimination round is out. The person that got the third position amongst the competitors in this elimination round is Ling Tian. Ling Tian? The crowd looked among each other. They didn't seem to have heard this name before. Ling Tian, please step forth. Elder He calmly said those words, seemingly understanding the crowd's confusion. Instantly, a man encased in a black robe walked 2 steps forth before giving a slight nod towards Elder He. He introduced himself with a hoarse voice, I am Ling Tian. Elder He knitted his brows slightly as he looked questionably at the peculiar man before him. Who is he? The runner-up for this elimination round is Mr. Qingyu. Mr. Qingyu was only the runner-up. This outcome greatly shocked the crowd. Since Mr. Qingyu was the runner-up, the first position should be Qin Fei from the Qin family. In this event, only those two had the qualification to obtain the top positions. Fei, you finally achieved first place. Qin Luo exclaimed excitedly, I always knew Fei would be the most outstanding. It seems that you were able to beat Mr. Qingyu this time. Qin Fei smiled lightly as she shifted her gaze towards the judges' panel. We'll see once the judges announce the winner. But looking at her expression, it seemed that she was confident of the outcome. Following up will be the champion for this elimination round. Elder He chuckled. When he looked at the quieting crowd, he announced with a raised brow, the champion for this round of competitions is Ru Yue. 1. Qin Fei's smile stiffened. She was so stunned that her eyes widened. Her complexion momentarily paled, and her delicate body trembled slightly. She actually didn't make it to one of the top 3 positions of the elimination round? This is impossible. Qin Fei tightly bit her lips, a hint of iciness in her eyes. She wanted to know who Ru Yue was. Who was the one who had robbed her of her position in the top 3? A plainly dressed Ru Yue walked forward gradually under the amazement of the crowd. She was dressed up plainly without any accessories. Yet, even if she dressed this plainly, it was still unable to cover up her exceptional appearance, one that could beat every girl in the venue. This young girl with such an outstanding appearance attracted the crowd's attention. Everyone felt as though they were looking at a ghost when they saw the young girl alchemist's ranking crest. Was this a joke? A human stage mid-rank alchemist? Such a low-ranked human stage mid-ranked alchemist was actually the champion for this elimination round? Did they see it wrongly, or has this world become a fantasy? Since when was there such a capable human stage mid-rank alchemist that could push Qin Fei, who was at the Earth stage low-rank level, out of the top 3 positions? 1. Mickey heard a resounding face slap. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 92, Mental Strength Test. Chapter 92, Mental Strength Test. Qin Fei clenched her fist tightly and her body couldn't help but tremble. The words from the crowd resounded constantly in her ears. How could she accept that a lowly human stage mid-rank alchemist had entered the top 3 positions and even gained the champion spot? How could she bear with that? Qin Fei inhaled deeply to calm her unstable breathing as she looked at Ru Yue with an increasingly icy gaze. Elder Qin's white brows slightly dipped as he frowned when he noticed Qin Fei's emotions. He sighed. That little girl lacked experience, her mood became so unstable with just a failure. If this were to go on, then it would be greatly detrimental for her future. It would be good for her to be defeated by Ru Yue today. The elimination round was only based on knowledge. The upcoming round of the competition would be the genuine important ones. Alright, the result of the first round of the competition is out. The second round of competitions will be coming up next. The second round will focus on your mental strength. Elder He smiled as he stood up before waving his hand, instructing some people to lift and bring over an enormous rock. That enormous rock needed a few dozens of people to lift it. It could be said that it wasn't a rock, but a rock mountain. It seemed to have matchless toughness, so it was evidently difficult to break it. No one knew what Elder He was up to, so they curiously looked at him. Have you clearly examined this rock? It is a complete steel essence stone. Even if it is our president, he might not be able to break it. You will use your mental strength to strike at this rock in a short while. The champion for this round will be the one that can execute the most damage to the rock. Elder He smiled. He knew that he was putting these youngsters on the spot. However, to alchemists, mental strength was the most important factor. What if someone completely breaks it? Someone below instantly queried. Elder He chuckled. I can definitely say that is impossible. Even the most talented person on this continent wouldn't be able to break this perfect steel essence stone with just his mental strength. Hence, everyone can be completely reassured. This is my promise to all of you. Everyone calmed down after hearing Elder He's words. Mu Yue, Elder He shifted his gaze towards Mu Yue as he continued with a smile. Since you were the champion for the first round, you shall be the first to attempt to strike the steel essence stone. Remember, you can only use your mental strength. You will be disqualified if you were to use your martial power. He wanted to know how great her mental strength was when compared to her knowledge of alchemy. However, he still didn't feel assured, so he added, you can use all of your mental strength to strike at this steel essence stone without holding back. Mu Yue pouted as she didn't know if she should do as he said. Was this steel essence stone really as tough as he said? Humph. Qin Fei coldly snorted with mockery. Mu Yue's mental strength shouldn't be any good considering she was only a human stage mid-rank alchemist. Perhaps she wouldn't be able to even break a small corner of the stone. She would be the first to attempt and will then be disgraced. Mu Yue walked to the steel essence stone and took in a slow breath before releasing her mental powers. A tyrannical mental power emanated from her body, instantly causing the tree leaves to fall and a cloud of dust filled the air. Hon! The tyrannical power struck the steel essence stone under the astonished gaze of the crowd. Everyone was dumbfounded at what happened next. The entire steel essence stone immediately shattered and crumbled beneath her mental power. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 93, She Definitely Isn't Human. Chapter 93, She Definitely Isn't Human. Not to mention the rest, even Mu Yue was stunned. Startled, she turned her head to the stupefied Elder He and blinked her dazed eyes at him. Didn't this elder say that it definitely wouldn't crumble? Then why did this entire steel essence stone crumple when she wasn't even at full force? At this moment, in everyone's mind, they truly believed she was a monster. There wasn't anyone that didn't know how tough a steel essence stone was. Yet today the enormous steel essence stone had unexpectedly been crushed into pieces under the might of her mental powers. Was she still human? Was this steel essence stone made of dirt? Mu Yue pondered about the reason and could only think about that possibility. Otherwise, why did it crumble when she didn't use that much strength? Elder He was so ashamed that he wanted to bury himself into his seat. He took in a deep breath to calm his stirred emotions. Little girl, I can guarantee that this was a genuine steel essence stone. We had experts test it. Thinking about what he just said, he could feel his face flushing. He had lost a lot of face today. Elder He, since this was the genuine steel essence stone, why was she able to shatter it? Qin Fei bit on her red lips as she commented, unsatisfied. She was initially waiting for that girl to be ridiculed. Who knew that she would step into the limelight? How could her mental strength be so strong when she was only at the human stage mid-rank level? Therefore, there must definitely be something wrong with that steel essence stone. Qin Fei, are you suspecting that I am harboring her? Elder He's expression darkened slightly before saying in a harsh tone, the steel essence stone was found by the president. If you have any problems, go and find the president. Qin Fei was momentarily startled. She hastily lowered her head, bit her lip, and replied, I didn't say anything about Elder He harboring her. I just feel that this is just too unbelievable. Who could believe that a human stage mid-rank alchemist could possess such tyrannical mental powers? Enough! Elder Qin frowned. He coldly interrupted Qin Fei as he said, Fei, I can also guarantee the authenticity of this steel essence stone, so you shouldn't worry about that. Anyone that was still suspicious stopped questioning the outcome after hearing his words. Elder Qin was from the Qin family. Even he didn't assist Qin Fei now. This clearly showed that the steel essence stone was genuine. This also proved that the young girl possessed such tyrannical mental powers. At this moment, everyone had a thought. She definitely wasn't human. Who else, especially other girls, could reach her standard? Since the steel essence stone has shattered, the result for this round is out. The champion is still Ru Yue. The ranking for this round shall be the same as the elimination round. Qin Fei clenched her fist with hatred after hearing Elder He's words. She initially thought of entering a spot in the top 3 positions for this round. It was all that girl's fault for destroying the steel essence stone, causing her to continue to be unable to reach the top 3 positions. How could Qin Fei, who had always been arrogant, stand not being able to obtain a top 3 position during the elimination round and the semifinal round? She could already foresee that she would be unable to enter the top 3 positions in the final round. Elder He frowned slightly when he shifted his gaze to Qin Fei and caught the hatred in her eyes. He then said, in the final round, there won't be any special requirement. You just need to manufacture your best pill. The champion will then be determined by the grade of the pill. Qin Fei's tightly clenched fists relaxed. A cold sneer was expressed as she shifted her cold gaze towards Ru Yue at the side. You were just lucky for the previous 2 rounds. The next round would test ability. How could you, who was only a human stage mid-rank alchemist, continue to be the champion? 1. Mickey and Heidi, don't jump to the teaser again, if not, the vicious cycle will occur again. Best of luck for your exam. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 94, Mysterious Black-Clothed Man. Chapter 94, Mysterious Black-Clothed Man. The competitors went to pick their medicinal plants in an orderly manner before returning to their seats. Qin Fei glanced at Ru Yue before snickering as she took out her pill furnace. A bright red pill furnace appeared in front of her. Following that, she raised her palm in a gentle motion, causing a bright flame to dance on her hand. I will definitely beat that girl this time. If not, then how could she have the face to continue to stay here? Everyone began to focus on their pill ingredients once the pill refinement commenced. As such, nobody noticed that the black-clothed man had discreetly taken out a porcelain bottle. Traces of an odorless and colorless substance permeated from that porcelain bottle. When the substance passed by medicinal plants, they began to gradually wither. Wow, what is going on? Why has my medicinal plant withered? I'm doomed. Everything is finished. Alarm soon turned into despair. If they had to get new medicinal plants, then they would certainly run out of time. Could it be that they had lost before they could even compete? How could they be willing for that to happen? What's happening? Elder Flame's expression slightly darkened. He stood up from his seat and shifted his gaze to that black-clothed man. The light in his eyes gradually dimmed. I previously felt something was amiss with that black-robed man. Can this be his doing? But he didn't have any evidence. Even Elder Flame didn't have any idea on how to remedy this. Furthermore, it wasn't just the others, as that black-clothed man's medicinal plants had also withered. If his medicinal plants didn't wither, then it would have been easy. The black-clothed man sneered. He wouldn't let anyone successfully form their pill, even if the host of the event were able to prepare more medicinal plants for the participants. The only one that could win this round can only be him. No. Qin Fei Fei looked at the withered medicinal plants before her. Her exquisite face momentarily paled. She bit tightly on her lips as her body shuddered. Why did this happen? I can't take it. I didn't even enter the top 3 positions. I wanted to use this round to wash off the disgrace from the previous matches. Why have I already lost the qualifications to participate in this competition? She was really unsatisfied, as the pill assembly would be hosted only once every few years. If she were to lose this opportunity, she would have to wait for some time before competing again. Cough, cough. Elder Flame dryly coughed twice. With a strict gaze that surveyed the surroundings, he calmly said, "Everyone, since there have been changes in this competition shall last until..." Wait! Ling Tian walked 2 steps forward before his words even landed. Under the cover of the black robe, his lips curled up into a slight curve before saying, "As an alchemist, we have to adapt to situations. Since that is the case, there will definitely be a way to reinvigorate the withered medicinal plants." Do you have a way? Elder Flame asked with a darkened expression. Ling Tian snickered. He didn't say anything more and just returned to his seat. He slowly raised his palm. His fingers were slender and good-looking, with a distinct bone structure. A faint green light was emitted from his palm and gradually entered the medicinal plant. The initially withered medicinal plant regained some vitality shortly after. The legendary method of using energy to recover medicinal plants. Elder, he stood up abruptly. With an ashen face, he looked at Ling Tian. You're that person's disciple. That's right, I am that person's disciple. Moreover, my name isn't Ling Tian. His appearance had been covered by the black robe so nobody could see his expression. You shouldn't be foreign to my name. I'm that person's prideful disciple, Ling Yi. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 95, Finale of the Competition Part 1. Chapter 95, Finale of the Competition Part 1. The crowd didn't know what that name represented, but the 3 elders at the front took in a breath. They had already guessed that the black-clothed man wasn't simple, but to think that he was that person's favorite disciple. What? Is the name that shocking, or is it that you want to disqualify me? Ling Yi snickered sinisterly. With mockery in his eyes, he continued, It is a pity that I haven't broken any rules, so you don't even have the right to eliminate me. I, Ling Yi, will definitely become the champion of this competition. He didn't like the alchemy profession, so he didn't practice it much. Even if that was the case, defeating this bunch of arrogant fools wasn't hard. But wouldn't that be too boring? Since he was here to mess up this event, he must completely mess it up to make those people understand that person's disciple wasn't a useless scoundrel. Elder Flame and Elder He looked at each other before laughing bitterly. If the champion of this competition were to fall on that person's disciple, it would mean the total loss of face for those few elders. Because back then, it was them that disqualified that person from the pill assembly. Just when they started to despair, Ru Yue, who hadn't made any move before, walked up to the pill furnace. She narrowed her eyes when she looked at her medicinal plants before gently placing her palm above them. Can it be that she is trying to learn that technique from that man Ling Tian and use energy to recover medicinal plants? How can that legendary technique be used by everyone? Perhaps if she tries. Everyone started to laugh as they watched Ru Yue. Ling Yi frowned. His lips curled up into a sinister smile beneath the black robe. He used his eyes to size up the young girl, an indistinct mockery filling his gaze. Elder Flame and the few elders' eyes lit up. Perhaps this little girl might bring them a miracle. Miracles really existed. The instant Ru Yue placed her hand over the medicinal plant, the previously withered medicinal plant began to give off a weak ray of light. Each stalk then became completely invigorated and was at least an inch larger. Those who had been ridiculing her were stunned. With widened eyes, they watched on in shock as though they were peering at a ghost. Miracle! It's a miracle! Ha ha ha! Elder Flame jubilantly laughed. He was exceptionally excited and wanted to laugh out loud towards the sky. Ling Yi, how is that? You aren't the only one that knows how to use the technique of using energy to recover medicinal plants. Moreover, her medicinal plants seem to have grown larger. Much larger? Elder Flame gasped with astonishment. He just realized that the medicinal plant unexpectedly seemed to have grown by a lot. The 50-year-old medicinal plant had turned 100 years old in such a short while? Was she truly a monster? When did the technique of using energy to recover medicinal plants gain such an effect? Who is this monster's master? If that alchemist isn't well known and is inferior to me, I perhaps might be able to discuss with them about giving this disciple to me. Rays of light glimmered in Elder Flame's eyes. There was such a good seedling before him. If he didn't take any action, it would be akin to piercing his own heart with a knife. Humph. Ling Yi's expression became ashen. His eyes narrowed slightly as a trace of cold light flashed in his eyes. The method for using energy to recover medicinal plants was discovered by his master from an ancient book. Who knew that there would be someone else that also knew of this method? It seemed that he had underestimated the hosts of this pill assembly. However, no matter what, the champion for this pill assembly must be him. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 96, Finale of the Competition Part 2. Chapter 96, Finale of the Competition Part 2. Elder Flame smiled as he looked at Ru Yue. Little girl, bring out all of your potential. I believe that those with such tyrannical mental power will definitely have great alchemist's prowess. This competition doesn't only affect you, but will affect the entire pill assembly, so this elder begs you, but. Elder Flame, a highly respected elder of the pill assembly, had actually put down his status in order to beg an immature little girl. Everyone was so astonished that their jaws dropped. Qin Fei clenched her fist in hatred. She didn't even feel the pain when her nails pierced her palm. She calmed her fury and looked icily at Ru Yue. So what if she could use energy to grow medicine? She was still just a human stage mid-rank alchemist. How could she defeat that black-clothed man with her ability? Elder Flame must really be going increasingly senile. If not, how could he lower his status for someone who didn't have any possibility of winning? Elder Flame, I have a suggestion. Qin Fei raised her brows as she took lotus steps forward and said, she is just a human stage mid-rank alchemist. If she could pass her medicinal plants to me, the probability of winning this competition might be higher. From Qin Fei's point of view, she was doing this for the pill assembly, so Elder Flame shouldn't deny her suggestion. Elder Flame frowned slightly. He didn't have time to respond before Elder Qin's calm voice rang out from his side, Fei's suggestion is reasonable. It is obvious that this will be just giving the championship to someone else if that person is at the human stage mid-rank. Moreover, we had moved essentially all of the medicinal plants for the pill assembly here. There wouldn't be enough time to head out and purchase more medicinal plants in the time needed to burn an incense stick. In that case, the competition would have ended meaninglessly. She can't, but Qin Fei can? Elder Flame sneered. Mr. Changyu, who was at the Earth stage mid-rank, didn't say a word. How could she, who was at the Earth stage low rank, be able to do anything? Qin Feifei's charming face changed slightly. She lowered her head and no longer spoke. Actually, it isn't impossible for her to compete. Just as the atmosphere became extremely tense, an indifferent voice was transmitted from the center of the venue. Ru Yue chuckled, but that smile didn't reach her eyes. With an icy gaze, she continued, "If young Mistress Qin can determine what pill can be made from my medicinal ingredients, I shall allow young Mistress Qin to participate in this competition." "Alright, I will take a look at the medicinal ingredients in your hand right now." Qin Feifei didn't think much about it and sniggered. How could she not know about the lowly pill formulas used by human stage mid-ranks? But after she looked at the medicinal plants, her exquisite face changed. She pointed at Ru Yue's medicinal plants and raised her head to look at her in fury. "It is impossible to refine any pills from your medicinal plants. How can you win the competition with these medicinal plants? Your ingredients also consisted of 1,000 years ginseng fruit and violent grass. Don't you know that it is impossible to fuse those two medicinal plants? How could you make a good pill if you don't even know this? This is clearly giving away the championship." Qin Feifei was so angry that her face flushed red. No matter what, the Qin family was associated with the pill assembly. If something were to happen at the pill assembly, it would similarly affect the Qin family. Hence, how could Qin Feifei not rage? It was all due to this damnable girl. At this instant, Qin Feifei had forgotten that without Ru Yue, the pill assembly wouldn't even have the possibility of obtaining victory. "Elders," Ru Yue shifted her gaze to the three judges as she said calmly, "It is not that I didn't give her the opportunity. It was she herself that said she didn't know how to refine these medicinal ingredients. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 97, Finale of the Competition Part 3. Chapter 97, Finale of the Competition Part 3. Elder Flame and Elder He looked at one another. If they hadn't guessed wrongly, that girl should be trying to refine an Earth stage mid-ranked pill. Yet, it was a fact that the 1,000-year ginseng fruit and violent grass wouldn't be able to fuse. If this was just before the elimination round, then perhaps they would have already had similar thoughts like Qin Feifei's. Now, however, they were unknowingly believing in her ability after viewing the answers she'd given previously. With her current knowledge on pill refining, she definitely wouldn't make such a novice mistake. Maybe, she really did have a way to fuse together those two medicinal plants. "Alright, I'll watch how you manage to refine that pill." Qin Feifei glared at Ru Yue before turning around and heading back to her seat. She really couldn't imagine a way to fuse those medicinal plants with opposite attributes. But if that girl didn't know such basics in refining pills, then how was she able to consecutively be the champion for the previous 2 rounds? No matter how Qin Feifei scolded Ru Yue in her heart, the final round of the competition still commenced. Ling Yi looked sinisterly at her before coldly and wordlessly alighting a flame on his palm. Thud! The flame leapt to the bottom of the pill furnace. Swish! The furnace lit up momentarily. At this very moment, the people of the pill assembly became nervous. Even though they doubted Ru Yue would turn out victorious, they still wished for her to defeat Ling Yi. A flame lit up on Ru Yue's palm. Her impeccable appearance became bright red from the glow of her flame. Her expression was exceptionally serious at this moment, her eyes like the night as they seemed to have 2 flames dancing in them. There was a proverb, a girl that was serious would look exceptionally beautiful. Currently, Ru Yue, as she was wholeheartedly refining the pill, gained many of the men's hearts. Her appearance was exquisite. Those long lashes drooped slightly, covering the 2 flames in her eyes. Her lips curled up slightly to form an elegant curve, and along with her white clothes, both amplified her beauty. At this moment, her appearance couldn't even be described as merely matchless. Swish! A flame rose again, leaping and forming a perfect arc. Ru Yue turned over her hand to drastically increase the heat of the flame before adding a medicinal ingredient into the pill furnace. A faint, soothing scent permeated from the pill furnace. Those who inhaled it felt their spirit shudder. They could feel an unprecedented calmness as their heart and mind completely relaxed. Did the pill form already? Everyone's gaze landed on the pill furnace with hope shining in their eyes. There is still the final medicinal ingredient, the violent grass. That medicinal plant and the 1,000-year ginseng fruit could greatly enrich the body, but shouldn't be refined together. Otherwise, with the medicinal characteristics of the violent grass, it would definitely lead to a violent reaction that spreads outward. The end result for the pill refinement will lead to the furnace exploding. Seeing Ru Yue's actions, Qin Fei coldly sniggered. Finally, under everyone's anticipating gaze, Ru Yue picked up the violent grass and gradually added it into the pill furnace. Everyone, quickly put your guard up. Qin Fei immediately guarded her body as the might of the explosion from the furnace may endanger them, the innocent onlookers. However, other than the Qin family, no one guarded themselves like she did. They shot peculiar gazes at Ru Yue instead. Qin Fei was dazed when she shifted her gaze to the green pill in Ru Yue's hand. Her eyes opened widely in astonishment. It didn't explode? How can this be? What went wrong? What made her even more gloomy was that Ru Yue was really capable in refining a pill from those medicinal ingredients. Ru Yue didn't even look at her and just placed her pill away without further consultation. Similarly, at that time Ling Yi had also completely refined his pill. With a cold sneer on his face, he extinguished the flame at the bottom of his pill furnace. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 98, Finale of the Competition Part 4. Chapter 98, Finale of the Competition Part 4. Elder He smiled faintly as he first examined Ling Yi's refined pill. As his eyes slightly narrowed, he announced unemotionally, Earth Stage Mid-Rank Pill. Fusion rate at 90% and effect power of the pill is 85%. Hua! The crowd instantly became violently disruptive. Not only did he refine an Earth Stage pill, but the effect power had reached 85%? The fusion rate was even at 90%. Even Mr. Qing Yu shouldn't have reached such a standard yet. Little Ru Yue, bring your pill over. Elder He didn't look at the crowd's expression as he smilingly spoke. He still wanted to look at the pill that the young girl refined? Was this even necessary? Ling Yi was just that powerful. Even if that young girl hid her powers, she definitely shouldn't be his opponent. Age was a major hurdle. That girl seemed to be only 15. How much could she achieve at her current age? She definitely couldn't be more talented than Mr. Qing Yu, right? Ru Yue didn't seem to hear the discussions as she slowly walked toward Elder He and placed her pill before him. She then took a few steps back after that. Elder He suppressed his nervousness as he gently picked up the pill. Instantly, his expression changed slightly as he looked with shock at Ru Yue. Elder He, what's wrong? Elder Flame frowned as he looked puzzledly at this old fellow. Earth Stage Mid-Rank Pill. Fusion rate at 95% and the effect power is 100%. Silence. Once Elder He's words landed, the entire venue became silent. What did the effect power of the pill represent? It represented the time span for the medicinal powers to be converted into energy for the body once consumed. A 100% effect power recovery pill would mean that once one consumed it, the power within the body would recover to its peak state in an instant. It would be in an instant. Elder He, could there be a mistake somewhere? Qin Fei bit her lips as she asked this with a slight change in her expression. Wasn't she just a human stage mid-rank alchemist? How could she be this powerful? Elder He didn't say anything and just tossed the pill toward Elder Qin. Elder Qin caught the pill and nodded towards Qin Fei Fei. Elder He's judgment isn't wrong. This is indeed an Earth Stage mid-rank pill with 100% effect power. Qin Fei Fei's complexion momentarily paled. She staggered a little but didn't collapse. She had lost. Not only did Ling Yi lost, but she also did. Moreover, she lost disgracefully. Suddenly, Qin Fei Fei thought back on her previous words. It now felt as though she'd viciously slapped herself twice. She had lost an immense amount of her face today. Ling Yi raised his head to glance at Ru Yue before directly walking out from the venue. Yet, when he walked past her side, his steps paused slightly as he tossed out a statement, "We'll meet again sooner or later. We'll compete once more then. However, I, Ling Yi, have lost in complete satisfaction this time." After saying that, he didn't speak any further and just left the arena without a care one. His exit didn't attract much attention as the crowd had been completely mind-blown from what Elder He and Elder Qin had just said. They hadn't snapped back to reality yet. A 15-year-old Earth Stage mid-rank alchemist? 100% effect power? In possession of knowledge on pill refining that could impress Elder Flame and Elder He? What was even more shocking was that she could also shatter an entire steel essence stone with her pure mental strength. Was this girl really human? Even guys weren't able to become as powerful as she was now. She was destined to be the main protagonist for this pill assembly and attract many people's attention, her radiance shooting in all directions. Everyone would still mention this pill assembly with excitement many years after. 1. Mickey, or like a boss. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 99, What's So Good About That Fool? Part 1. Chapter 99, What's So Good About That Fool? Part 1. Everyone, since the competition has come to an end, the prize awarding ceremony will happen in 3 days. Elder Flame smiled as he stood up. Anyone could tell that he was in an exceptional mood today from the smile that filled his face. After glancing at Ru Yue, he happily left the venue. Aha! I discovered a good seedling. I must return to report this to the president and recruit her into the pill assembly. Son. The night was serene. In an inn not far from the venue, Ru Yue seemed to be sleeping soundly. The bright moonlight shone past her window to highlight her exquisite face. At this moment, a foreign aura entered the room. Ru Yue's brows twitched once, but she didn't open her eyes as she waited to see what the intruder wanted to do. She felt a hot sensation on her nose, as though someone's breath was blowing on her face. Ru Yue couldn't stand it any longer, so she abruptly opened her eyes. In that instant, a face entered her night-like eyes. It was a man in red clothes like a matchless enchanter, his seductive red lips slightly tilted to form a perfect arc. His chest was exposed from behind his clothing, and that fair chest gave off an indistinct glow beneath the moonlight. Currently, the man had both hands on the bed as he looked at Ru Yue with narrowed eyes. The distance between them was so small that it successfully made Ru Yue sharpen her gaze. Scram! After an anger-filled holler, pang! Ru Yue kicked at a certain part of the man's body. Following that, a shriek broke the calmness of the night. Ah! Feng Jing Tian wanted to extend his hand to hold the area where Ru Yue had kicked, but thought that the action was rather inelegant. Thus, he could only stagger to a corner before directing a vicious glare at Ru Yue with grievance-filled eyes. Vicious woman, are you trying to break my legacy? If I really do lose it, then I will make you be unable to continue your legacy as well. Feng Jing Tian gritted his teeth in anger, but he couldn't do anything to this girl. He initially wanted to steal a kiss under the cover of the night, but who knew that he would fail, and it even nearly made him lose his legacy. The heavens knew that even though Feng Jing Tian loitered among clusters of flowers, he despised those girls that were too tacky and he didn't even want to touch them. At most, he would drink some tea and tease them a little before leaving. Hence, until now, he was still a virgin. If that part of his really malfunctioned, then wouldn't he be unable to try that ecstasy-filled experience before becoming a pile of white bones? Feng Jing Tian. Ru Yue narrowed her eyes slightly. With cold rays of light in her gaze, she asked coldly, "What are you doing here?" "What do I want to do? You tell me, what can a lone male and female do deep in the night? I've got to say that you're really merciless. If you really made me unable to have sexual intercourse after tonight, will you be repaying me with a son?" Ru Yue glanced at the bottom portion of Feng Jing Tian. With a slightly raised brow, she continued, "If you really are worried about not having a son to continue your legacy, then in the future my son will look after your later matters." Feng Jing Tian really wanted to viciously smack this woman's bum. He took in a deep breath before continuing with gritted teeth, "Woman, are you cursing for me to die? Even if I were to go to hell, I will drag you down with me. We'll continue to be entangled with each other then. My apologies, but I don't have any interest in interacting with you." Ru Yue yawned before she coldly looked at Jing Tian Feng. "Moreover, you should scram now." Feng Jing Tian seemed not to have heard her words as he staggered over to sit in a chair and pour himself a cup of tea. It was as though he were the master of the room. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 100, What's So Good About That Fool? Part 2. Chapter 100, What's So Good About That Fool? Part 2. Woman, I have already looked up your history during this period of time. I've heard that you are going to wed a fool? Feng Jing Tian shook his head. His pair of wavy phoenix eyes contained happiness and looked exceptionally mesmerizing. "If you want to escape, I can bring you away. Even the emperor wouldn't have the right to hinder your path. But the prerequisite is," Feng Jing Tian didn't in the slightest notice that Ru Yue's expression had darkened. With a smirk, he continued, "How about marrying me?" Ru Yue's expression darkened to the point where it resembled a pool of stagnant water. With her body giving off an icy cold aura, she looked at Feng Jing Tian's enchanter's-like face before saying coldly, "I hadn't yet married him, but he is already my husband. If you call him a fool again, believe that even if I can't kill you now, there will surely be a day where you will regret it." The smile on Feng Jing Tian's face gradually disappeared. He shifted his gaze to the young girl's icy appearance. His heart felt as though it had been viciously pierced by something. "What's so good about that fool?" Feng Jing Tian's gaze slowly dimmed, his eyes gloomy as he stared fixedly at Ru Yue. Even he didn't know what he was currently feeling. He had a habit of teasing any beauty when they first meet, but that was all he did. Yet, when he'd seen her previously cold attitude, he found that he was slowly unable to forget about her. The people in this world seemed to be of two types over these past few years. One type was where they couldn't free themselves after seeing his peerless appearance, while the other ridiculed him for either the red clothing he wore all year round or for having a magnificent appearance that was even better than a girl's. She was the only one that wasn't stunned, nor did she mock him. It was just indifference. After heading back, he started to look up information regarding her. His initial curiosity became appreciation. Who would have thought she'd suffered so much in these past few years? Those who should have been closest to her wanted her to die for an outsider. She was supposed to have peerless talent, but had her meridians blocked due to poison and was humiliated. This girl had suffered so much until, one day, she finally stood up and shot her radiance in all directions to let the world understand that the eldest young mistress of the Mu family was no longer a wastrel. But currently, this girl was protecting another man before him. It made Feng Jing Tian's heart viciously seize, his eyes filling with grief. Nobody else needs to know his good points. It is sufficient that I know. To be honest, the current Ru Yue still didn't know what position Yi Wu Chen held in her heart. No matter what, however, she just needed to think about that young youth and her heart would be filled with warmth. The young man was pure and innocent as a sheet of white paper. He was like a ray of light that shone on her dark heart, amidst a world filled with killing. It was precisely because of his presence that she didn't feel lonely in this foreign world. Outside the window, beneath the moon, a silver-masked man held both of his hands behind his back. He stood as straight as a rod in the moonlight. His gaze was filled with boundless gentleness as it landed on the familiar face inside the window. He couldn't help but wish to immediately wed this woman, yet he understood that the time wasn't ripe. Instead, he had to wait for the day when all of his matters had settled before he could marry her. Feng Jing Tian? The silver-masked man's gaze landed on that enchanter's face. With curled lips that gave off a sinister aura, he continued, "You dare to steal Ben Wang's girl. It seems I should teach him a lesson that not just anybody can desire her. Moreover, that kick of hers wasn't bad. I just hope that little girl doesn't kick me there during our bridal night in the future. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible." Volume 2. Chapter 101, Two-Faced Yi Wu Chen. Chapter 101, Two-Faced Yi Wu Chen. Woman. Feng Jing Tian's lips curled up. Every frown and smile of his displayed limitless charm. His red clothing revealed both his chest and back, making him look increasingly flamboyant. "Since you haven't married him yet, I still have a chance. I don't believe that I'm incomparable to a fool." Upon saying that, he laughed for a while before turning around to leave the room. Not long after he left the inn, a slender figure blocked his way. The man before him wore silver clothing as though he were a moon-exiled immortal. A silver mask adorned his face, revealing only a pair of eyes that would make people tremble with fear. The corner of that man's lips curled up into a demonic smile, making him resemble an Asura. When his tyrannical aura burst outward, it made even Feng Jing Tian retreat a few steps from feeling the pressure of that domineering aura. "She is my woman." That man smiled, his smile looking demonic and sinister. With that aura suddenly and violently exuding from his body, he continued, "As such, I won't permit any man to have any intention in seeking her." Feng Jing Tian laughed. His smile was so exceptionally moving that it couldn't just be described as matchless. It was highly unimaginable that a man could have such beauty when he smiled. "When did that girl become your possession?" The silver man narrowed his eyes, a sinister ray of light flashing past his pupils as he replied, "Unless it is she herself that lets go of my hand, I won't release her, even if I had to run through blades, traverse mountains, or stand in an ocean of fire. What irritates more for me is people harassing her. And also, she hates you." Feng Jing Tian's expression changed slightly. What that man said was right, that girl did indeed hate him. But this fact was what Feng Jing Tian was most unwilling to think about. So what? Feng Jing Tian gradually recovered. With a smile, he continued, "I just need to frequently appear at her side. She will naturally forget the mistake I had made when we first met. It's a pity that you won't get that chance." The man narrowed his gaze as he looked at Feng Jing Tian's alarmed gaze. With a slight smile, he explained, "It will be due to you being unable to get off the bed within half a year's time." He was a decisive man, so he definitely wouldn't allow any dangerous seedlings grow, especially when he still hadn't obtained Ru Yue's confirmation. He was completely clueless to whether he existed in her heart. Thus, he must make this man temporarily disappear for half a year. In that half a year, if he couldn't obtain her heart, then he wouldn't be Ghost King Yi Wu Chen. Feng Jing Tian's phoenix eyes slightly narrowed. He had a feeling that this man was truly powerful, to the point of being monstrous. Why was there such a powerful man at that girl's side? It seemed that if he wanted to pursue that girl, it would be extremely difficult. As for the other side of the story, Ru Yue naturally didn't know about their meeting. She didn't have any intention of sleeping after chasing that enchanter out, so she sat cross-legged on her bed to cultivate. Faint wisps of energy circulated around her, gradually being absorbed by her body. Swish, dot. The little beast leapt up from the bed, his minute body gradually elongated to form the distinct appearance of a handsome man. Yan Jin just sat at the side as he silently watched Ru Yue cultivate. This little girl was usually extremely sharp, but once it involved feelings, she was obviously inexperienced. Yet, she easily attracted men to her. First was Ghost King Yi Wu Chen, and now that enchanter-like guy, Feng Jing Tian. It's fortunate that I had only admired this little girl and didn't have any other feelings towards her. Otherwise, if I had fallen for her, that relationship's path would be extremely arduous. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 102, An Exceptional Looking Man. Chapter 102, An Exceptional Looking Man. You still decided to come back here? A melancholy voice was gradually heard in the mountain valleys. If someone were to see this man that stood before the valley, they would definitely gasp. He was extremely good looking. There would only be a handful in this world that possess such exceptional looks. The assistance of eye-piercing white hair increasingly amplified that man's appearance. Such handsomeness made him look like an immortal. He wore spotlessly clean white clothes. Some of his clothing fluttered when a breeze blew past. His beauty was so astonishing that he could be mistaken for an exiled immortal from afar. Not only was that man's hair white, but his eyebrows were also white. Only his eyes seemed similar to ordinary people, a pair of eyes that exuded a faint sadness. Who was he being gloomy for? What had his hair turned white for? The man chuckled lowly. His handsome face became more exceptional with that smile. He seemed like an exiled immortal who wasn't affected by the world in order to reach an extraordinary realm. Son. 3 days later at the Pill Assembly's venue. The president surveyed the crowd before drily coughing a couple of times. He stood up with a smile and announced, "Coming up will be the announcement of prizes for this competition." Hua! Everyone became excited as they wanted to know what the prize for the champion will be. The president was extremely happy to see this kind of atmosphere. With a smile akin to a cunning fox, he continued, "The champion's prize will be the Phoenix Furnace from the Pill Assembly." Everyone was startled. They knew that the Phoenix Furnace was a divine instrument. With the assistance of the Phoenix Furnace, the user could refine high-grade pills. However, the Phoenix Furnace chose its owner, so even the grandson of the president was unable to contract with that Phoenix Furnace. The president had actually set the Phoenix Furnace as the top prize today? Someone, bring forth the Phoenix Furnace. Upon that order, some people immediately brought forth the Phoenix Furnace. The Phoenix Furnace required 10 people to carry it onto the stage. Moreover, the furnace was covered by a red cloth. After the red cloth was removed, a completely bright red treasured furnace appeared in the crowd's eyes. There was a roaming phoenix carved on the treasured furnace. It was so lifelike that it seemed it could leap out of the treasured furnace. But while the others only looked at the beautiful appearance of the phoenix, Ru Yue felt as though she could hear the moving cries of the phoenix. Ru Yue's brows twitched as she stared unemotionally at the phoenix furnace. That girl ripped such a bargain. Xin Fei was so angry that her face flushed. She clutched her clothes tightly as he glared at Ru Yue with a jealousy-filled gaze. The Phoenix Furnace was a top-grade item that even Elder Qin didn't have the rights to touch. Now the Phoenix Furnace was given to that girl? It was really a mystery as to what the Pill Assembly was thinking. Little girl, give it a try to see if you can contract this Phoenix Furnace. The president smiled at Ru Yue and cordially spoke like a benevolent grandfather. When Ru Yue saw the craftiness smile in his eyes, however, she withdrew the foot she was planning to move forth. Little girl, why aren't you going to contract with it? The president obviously noticed her action and asked with his white brows slightly raised. Will you set any demand after I contract it? Glimmers danced in Ru Yue's eyes as she kept feeling that this fox-like old man didn't have any good intentions. The president was stunned. Many wanted to obtain the Phoenix Furnace but weren't able to. This girl wanted to reject it, even though what she said was indeed his plan? He. Little girl, don't worry. I promise you that this Phoenix Furnace is the top prize for this pill assembly. If you can contract with it, it will belong to you and I also won't set any unreasonable demands. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 103, Breakthrough. Breakthrough. Chapter 103, Breakthrough. Breakthrough. Alright, Ru Yue sighed before gradually walking forth. Pang. She viciously directed her mental power to strike the Phoenix Furnace. Instantly, the Phoenix Furnace radiated light in all directions and illuminated the entire arena. Everyone was astonished as they looked dazedly at the young girl enclosed in the red light. The president couldn't help but stand up and stare at Ru Yue. Is she really the owner of the Phoenix Furnace? It seems that the water of the world will start to move again. Not long after, due to this little girl's existence, the sky and the earth will definitely be turned upside down. He didn't know if this change would be fortuitous or disastrous. Currently, Ru Yue, who was within the red light, could feel a power viciously entering her body, rampaging through her meridians. She momentarily couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood as her exquisite face started to pale. When the red light faded, everyone looked at the young girl before the Phoenix Furnace. They looked at one another, but no one knew what was going to happen. Hiss. The intense pain made Ru Yue's body twitch. It seemed as though something was directly forcing its way through her meridians, which weren't large. When she reached her limit, a silver cloth robe moved in a flash to her. The man embraced her body. Under the silver mask, a pair of black eyes focused on her lovingly. Ru Yue's body shook slightly. This feeling was really warm and familiar. Wu Chun. Slowly, Ru Yue's consciousness started to become hazy as she subconsciously muttered. She clearly felt the arm that was embracing her slightly tremble. Following that, a warm feeling passed through her body, causing her consciousness to clear. What appeared before her was a silver mask that made it hard to see that man's appearance. While that man's eyes gave her an exceptional familiar feeling, she just couldn't remember where she met him. You're not Wu Chen. During the previous moment, she really did think that Wu Chen had suddenly appeared at the pill assembly. This man wasn't him, so who was he then? Seeing the hurt for her in the man's eyes, it made her heart palpitate. Suddenly, countless streams of energy surged towards Ru Yue and was rapidly being absorbed into her body. Due to contracting with the Phoenix Furnace, it had expanded her meridians. The nourishment of those energies slowly made her pain vanish. Perhaps it was due to her instantly absorbing the vast amount of energy as Ru Yue used the momentum to break through from the 4th stage martial practitioner to the 5th stage, entering a new step. The silver-masked man gently placed the young girl in his embrace down before looking deeply at her. The silver clothes then vanished from the venue, not waiting for her to question him. It was as though he had never been there. Who was he? Ru Yue slightly raised her brow. She seemed to have met him before, as an exceptionally familiar feeling was felt from the man, especially from his eyes. Little girl, I should congratulate you. The president smilingly walked forth. Not only have you succeeded in contracting the Phoenix Furnace, but you also broke through to the 5th stage. Such an achievement would be the best among the 4 kingdoms. Congrats! Congrats! Elder Flame and the others came forth as well and sincerely congratulated her. Alright, since you kept the Phoenix Furnace, craftiness flashed past the president's eyes as he continued, brimming with smiles, I will give you 2 choices. The first is to become my disciple. Once you become my disciple, I can guarantee that no one here will dare to bully you. The second is that I will give my grandson to you. You can do anything to him, be it warming the bed or folding blankets. You can also casually discipline him and I won't say a word, even if you beat or scold him. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 104, Can you be even more arrogant? Chapter 104, Can you be even more arrogant? Actually, the old man really wanted Ru Yue to be his grandson's wife, but he clearly understood that this little girl was really obstinate. She definitely wouldn't agree, so he wanted King Yue to be at her side in order for feelings to develop with time. He had the time to wait anyway. When his words landed, not to mention the others, King Yue himself was dazed as he looked at the president with a gaze filled with grievance. Was this considered him being sold by his biological grandfather? Grandfather! King Yue frowned with grief expressed on his handsome face. Shut up! The president viciously glared at him. Your grandfather is negotiating with someone now. How can you interrupt? Go and stand in a corner. King Yue helplessly shook his head. Why did he have such a grandfather that could casually sell his biological grandson? Miss, my grandfather was only kidding with you. Please don't mind him. King Yue shifted his gaze to Ru Yue with a bashful smile. He scratched his head before continuing, this old man has always been like that. An elder that doesn't act like an. Before the elder word landed, a fist mercilessly struck at his head. The president's beard trembled as he glared at him like a fiend. Has there ever been such cases like this where you talked about your grandfather in such a manner? An elder that doesn't act like an elder? Stinky brat, this old man is your grandfather. King Yue pouted as he looked at him, aggrieved. It would really be better having none than having such an old child-like grandfather. He. Little girl, have you considered? The president turned his head to Ru Yue and said smilingly, my grandson is actually not bad. He has the looks, his talent is great, and he can also cook and sweep the floor. Can't you consider keeping him? Ru Yue sighed helplessly, I already have a fiancé and your grandson looks really unwilling. Looking at King Yue's grieving appearance, he looked remarkably like a little animal that had suffered from some inhumane mistreatment. How about becoming my disciple then? After being silent for a while, his eyes lit up as he asked that. Ru Yue shook her head. I reject. Reject? She rejected? The crowd looked at her in shock. Who didn't know the Lord President's identity? In the current time, the only one that could be comparable to him was Ru Yue, who had extremely high sight. The president wanted to recruit her as his disciple, but the little girl actually rejected him? Could she be more arrogant? Little girl, you must at least give me a reason for rejecting me. The president expressed grief. He wanted to recruit her, but that little girl rejected? Could it be that she had a master greater than him? I already have a master. He will be coming here in a few days. If you really want to recruit me as your disciple, you should talk to him. Ru Yue shrugged her shoulders as she said that with an insincere smile. Hearing that, the president heaved a sigh of relief. All right, I will wait for his arrival. I will personally discuss this matter with him. If he agrees, then you will be my disciple. Within these 4 kingdoms, excluding that old fellow Ru Yue, whose alchemy's level exceeded his. Moreover, he hadn't heard of that old fellow Ru Yue recruiting a disciple, so this little girl obviously wasn't his disciple. Since that was the case, wouldn't it be easy for Ru Yue's master to pass her on to him? As the president of the Pill Assembly, once he asked someone, that fellow shouldn't reject him. Among the crowd, there was a silver-masked man that hadn't left and witnessed what had just happened. A light smile was displayed on his demonic face beneath the mask. The current him really had the impulse of keeping Ru Yue from the world so that nobody would try to seek her. Yet, he knew that this girl wasn't like other girls and wouldn't want to enjoy hiding behind people's back for protection. She was destined to use her hard work to climb to the peak of the martial world before coldly looking askance at the common people of the world. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 105, An Acquaintance-like Person's Arrival Part 1. Chapter 105, An Acquaintance-like Person's Arrival Part 1. Just after Ru Yue left the venue, a figure charged towards her and violently launched into her embrace. Xiao Chengcheng looked at Ru Yue with big watery eyes. "Elder sister, why didn't you come to look for Ching-Cheng?" It was unknown why, but when Ru Yue looked at the child in her embrace, her heart would unknowingly soften. "Ching-Cheng, don't be so impolite." An elegant shout was heard from behind. Madame Shangyu, wearing goose-yellow clothes, walked over with a smile gracing her face. Her extremely elegant glide made her seem as if she were genuine royalty, her body giving off a noble feeling. "Yue, the events of the competition that day has already spread throughout the city." An elegant and light smile was displayed on Madame Shangyu's face. She looked tenderly at the young girl before her. "I never expect that Yue would be such a talented person. The laughable Qin family is too opinionated." Saying that, Madame Shangyu gradually moved forth to gently hold Ru Yue's hand as she said, "Yue, don't worry. With me here, even the Pill Assembly wouldn't lay a hand on you, not to mention the Qin family." Feeling the warmth from Madame Shangyu's palm, Ru Yue's heart warmed as her usual cold gaze slowly began to express a glow. "I thank Madame for that. Why do you still call me Madame? Yue, how about you become my daughter?" Ru Yue looked shocked at Madame Shangyu. He. Madame Shangyu chuckled lightly before saying gently, "I had previously mentioned that I had a daughter before Ching-Cheng. Today, she would have been almost the same age as you are. It is a pity that a couple of years ago, she was kidnapped by an enemy of the Xiao family. That enemy hurt my pitiful daughter in order to strike against us. After seeing you, Yue, it seems as though I'm looking at my precious daughter." Madame Shangyu lightly wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes as she sighed slightly. She currently didn't know whether her biological daughter was still living. It had also become the greatest pain in her life. "Pretty elder sister, it seems that from now on, you'll really be Ching-Cheng's elder sister." Xiao Chengcheng pulled on Ru Yue's sleeve. With her large eyes filled with excitement, she continued, "Ching-Cheng will become a family with elder sister then." Ru Yue looked at Madame Shangyu's gentle appearance. At that instant, she seemed to reminisce about her parents in Huaxia. Her eyes became a little sore as she called out, "Mother." "Sigh, good child." Madame Shangyu took a step forward to bring Ru Yue into her embrace. With tears in her eyes, she said, "I really don't know why, but whenever I look at you, you make me think about my daughter, causing me to unprecedented familiarity. Perhaps we have retained a predestined affinity from our previous life. What do you say?" At this moment, people from the Qin family walked out. They coldly looked at Ru Yue and the others before coldly snorting. "Younger sister, that is Madame Shangyu." Xin Luo pulled on Qin Feifei's sleeve as he gave the introduction. "What?" Qin Feifei violently trembled a little as she cast a gaze with some traces of jealousy at Ru Yue. Why was this girl able to enter the eyes of Madame Shangyu? Could it be due to the rescue of her daughter? Madame Shangyu patted Ru Yue's shoulder as she coldly gazed at the people from the Qin family. With the corner of her lips raised, she smiled sinisterly and asked, "I've heard that you people from the Qin family have always been troubling my recently adopted daughter?" Qin Feifei bit her lips. She revealed a smile after calming her heartfelt jealousy. Madame Shangyu's people must have heard wrongly. "We never put her in the spot. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 106, An Acquaintance-like Person's Arrival Part 2. Chapter 106, An Acquaintance-like Person's Arrival Part 2. "I'm making things up, so to say?" Madame Shangyu coldly chuckled. "You are nothing more than the tiny Qin family. If I want you to live, you can live. If I want you dead, then how can you live? It was just a simple sentence, but Madame Shang Yu gave off a domineering aura of undeniable nobility that leaked out from her entire body. After Qin Luo thought about Madame Shang Yu's terrifying subordinates, he was so frightened that he knelt down before her. Madam, please spare our lives. We really didn't know that she is your adopted daughter. I plead, madam, to forgive us this time. Forgive? I have already forgiven you once already. It isn't necessary to do so a second time. Madame Shang Yu coldly looked at the Qin family before holding Xiao Changcheng in one hand and Mu Ruyu in the other. She turned around and said, Xing Shang, Yue, let's go. I will dispatch people to deal with this Qin family in a bit. Those words from Madame Shang Yu was a death sentence for the Qin family. Qin Fei-Fei's legs gave way as she collapsed onto the floor. She initially wanted to dispatch people from the Qin family to assassinate Mu Ruyu and get the Phoenix Furnace. Her plan hadn't even solidified before being crushed. I don't want to resign to this. But no matter how much she yelled, no one bothered with her. Xing, you have to remember that from now on, you have to cut the grass from its roots in everything you do. Previously, I had seen killing intent coming from that girl of the Qin family when she looked at your elder sister Yue. Thus, when you meet such people, you mustn't let them go. Even if Qin Fei-Fei is a nobody that couldn't give rise to anything major, she will definitely become trouble in the future, so it is best to make the first move. On the way, Madame Shang Yu was constantly mentoring Xiao Changcheng. Xiao Changcheng nodded as though she somewhat understood her. Her confused appearance looked incredibly adorable. After hearing Madame Shang Yu's words, Mu Ruyu shook her head as she thought it was a little funny. How could the people that want her life in this world be little? The Mu family probably couldn't wait for her to die. Yue, since you're my daughter now, let's go to Purple Cloud Inn. Recently, I still have some matters to settle here, so I have to stay. It is also an opportunity for mother and daughter to get to know one another. Madame Shang Yu shifted her gaze to Mu Ruyu and held her hand as she warmly said this. That will be good. Mu Ruyu nodded in agreement. My master will also be coming to the Pill Assembly in a few days, so I also have to stay in this place as well. As Mu Ruyu said that, she looked at the blue sky. I wonder what Yi Wu Chen is currently doing. Is he being bullied? Or is he perhaps thinking about me as well? Sun. Night. The night was quiet. Mu Ruyu could faintly hear a familiar voice. My wife. My wife. Mu Ruyu abruptly opened her eyes as a familiar appearance instantly entered her sight. The man was looking at her with excitement in his eyes. His clear eyes was as clean as it usually was. Wu Chen, why are you here? I missed my wife. Wu Chen smiled gently. A trace of charm was unexpectedly felt from his face as he said, my wife must also have been thinking about me, right? Wu Chen, Wu. The rest of Mu Ruyu's words couldn't come out and was trapped in her throat when her lips was sealed by the elegant contours of his mouth. That marvelous feeling made his smile increasingly mesmerizing. Sleep, my wife. I will always be staying by your side. His words was like a spell as it made Mu Ruyu's eyelids extremely heavy. She slowly succumbed, gently closing her eyes while in that young man's embrace. Sun. When the morning light shone into the room, Mu Ruyu finally opened her eyes. She thought about what happened yesterday. Gently rubbing her sore forehead, she asked, was that just a dream? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 107, An Acquaintance-like Person's Arrival Part 3. Chapter 107, An Acquaintance-like Person's Arrival Part 3. How could Wu Chen be here? Thinking this, she shook her head, laughing aloud in spite. Suddenly, her gaze fell on a pendant atop her blanket. Ru Yue picked up the jade pendant. After seeing the ghost word on the jade pendant, she momentarily became stunned. Isn't this the jade pendant that is always on Wu Chen? Why did it appear here? Could it be that it wasn't a dream? Son. In the main hall of the Pill Assembly, the president glanced at the old man before him. After giving a cold snort, he asked, "Well, isn't this Grandmaster Wu Yue? When have you become so free as to come visit my place?" It was obvious that the old man was still brooding over the other man refusing to join the Pill Assembly and instead choosing to enter a sect. "My disciple is here, so why can't I come?" Wu Yue swept a glance at him before pouring himself a cup of tea. He didn't haggle much with him. While the two elders were going against one another, cold sweat from Elder Flame and Elder He, who were at their side, flowed constantly. "Your disciple?" The president raised his brows. Who doesn't know that Grandmaster Wu Yue's sight is high? When did you recruit a disciple? My disciple is the champion of this Pill Assembly, Ru Yue. Grandmaster Wu Yue revealed a proud expression after mentioning his disciple. He didn't in the slightest notice the instant change in complexion of the president. You said that little Ru Yue is your disciple?" The president completely stiffened. It was impossible for him to guess that Wu Yue was that girl's master. Judging from this elder's personality, how could he give his disciple over to him? Wu Yue glanced at the seemingly frightened Elder Qin. With a slight raise of his brows, he asked, "I've heard that my disciple has been bullied by someone here. Yet, it really isn't too good for us old fellows to enter a fight between the youngsters, right? What do you think, Elder Qin?" The president was stunned. With the protective nature of this elder, how could he forgive the other so easily? It was useless explaining to him that it was due to Qin Fei being too young, as this old man wasn't the type to be merciful towards youngsters. Yet, I heard that Elder Qin from the Pill Assembly kept helping that little girl, Qin Fei. You wanted to let Qin Fei step into the limelight after my disciple salvaged the medicinal plants? Wu Yue's words were right on the spot. The president smiled bitterly. He knew that this old fellow would definitely not let it go if he himself didn't deal with Elder Qin. I've heard that the Qin family has also offended Madame Shangyu. I can't continue to keep Elder Qin here anymore. Elder Qin, please head back to your Qin family. My Pill Assembly can't keep a large deity such as yourself. Elder Qin's expression changed. President. Do you still have further matters, Elder Qin? The president looked coldly at Elder Qin, whose expression changed. He was long dissatisfied with Elder Qin. Not only was he just a tiny elder, he had attempted to climb over his head a couple of times already. The president could take this opportunity to purge the Pill Assembly. Moreover, he could also make Wu Yue owe him a favor. To be honest, even if they constantly fought, Elder Qin was incomparable to old man Wu Yue in the president's heart. Not to mention their previous relationship, there was also the part where Ru Yue became the owner of the Phoenix Furnace. I will be withdrawing then. Elder Qin's complexion ashened. He didn't even look back at the president as he left. Seeing his departing figure, Elder Flame frowned. President, you should have known of Elder Qin's actions during this period of time. He wanted your position. If you were to chase him out like this, he will be unsatisfied and think of ways to seek trouble for the Pill Assembly. If he really did that, then it isn't necessary to keep him here. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 108, An Acquaintance-like Person's Arrival Part 4. Chapter 108, An Acquaintance-like Person's Arrival Part 4. The president chuckled. He stroked his beard and looked at this old fellow, Wu Yue. Let's not continue talking about that. Old fellow Wu Yue, when you lost to me that year, I know you thought I had won with dishonorable methods, so you were also unwilling to compete against me again. As such, I had planned to let our younger generations compete instead. Currently, I can't help but sigh as your disciple really is more outstanding than my grandson. This time, the president lost with complete satisfaction. How could he not after that little girl was acknowledged by the Phoenix Furnace as its owner? That's certain. Wu Yu complacently stroked his white beard. My disciple is naturally outstanding. What? Old fellow, are you planning to get her? I must tell you that my disciple already has a fiancée, and he interacts really well with her. They should be getting married in a few months' time. Even though I wish for my disciple to find the most outstanding husband, if she likes him, then I will be happy for her as her master. But hearing that, the president couldn't help but be stunned. So she already has a fiancé. It seems that my grandson no longer has the chance. That's right, even though your disciple is at the Earth stage mid-rank level, the knowledge she possesses is actually above ours. I really am doubtful that you, this old man, is really her master. Wu Yu's face reddened as he also felt this was strange since he hadn't taught her some of those stuff. But then, could she understand them so clearly? This disciple was really too intelligent as she just needed some time to master them. Thus, he no longer taught her alchemy, but just guided her in her martial training. Old fellow, what do you mean? If I am not her master, are you? Alright. I don't want to bicker with you. Since my grandson no longer stands a chance, I want to invite her as a recorded elder of my pill assembly. She won't be under any restriction, but she will enjoy the power of being an elder of the pill assembly. Wu Yu became silent. If she became a recorded elder, then the benefits weren't bad as she would no longer need to dread over a lack of medicinal plants. I will head over to discuss this with her. You should know that my disciple has always been independent. I, as her master, also shouldn't restrict her too much. She has her own thoughts. No matter what her decisions are, I will always support her. But since that old man Wu Yu didn't object, this matter should succeed. The president smiled with satisfaction. I shall await your good news then. That's right, you should know that the Phoenix Furnace from our pill assembly has been contracted by your precious disciple, so that means it's only reasonable for her to become an elder of my pill assembly. Wu Yu glared at him. I also heard about this matter before coming here. Why do I feel that you were tricking my disciple? You want to restrict her with the Phoenix Furnace? But if my disciple isn't willing, I want to see how you force her into accepting that position. The others could see the pride in Wu Yu's eyes, even as he said that. The Phoenix Furnace was truly a great object. It was an ancestor's treasure for the pill assembly. It was rumored that it was waiting for someone destined for it to appear. Never in his dreams did he think that the genuine owner of the Phoenix Furnace would be his own disciple. How could Wu Yu not be excited upon seeing the pill assembly suffer a loss? The Phoenix Furnace was a treasure of the pill assembly. Yet, it wasn't easy to decide if this was truly a loss as the president believed that this was a beneficial business. It was useless to keep the Phoenix Furnace at the pill assembly. Giving it to Ru Yue might mean they obtained her good feelings toward the pill assembly. Her future was immeasurable due to her being the owner of the Phoenix Furnace. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 109, An Acquaintance-like Person's Arrival Part 5. Chapter 109, An Acquaintance-like Person's Arrival Part 5. The sun shone fiercely. Under the heat of the sun, a young girl strolled along with her brows slightly raised, her thoughts indecipherable. Her free hand was viciously violating Yan Jin's soft body, completely ignoring his grief-filled eyes. The current Ru Yue had become a well-known person in this city. How could those that participated in the pill assembly not know of her? Hence, when she first appeared, it attracted the attention of many people. But at this moment, this young girl suddenly disappeared in broad daylight. That was right, she had really disappeared into thin air while under the crowd's gaze. A silver figure rapidly rushed to her position the moment she disappeared. Hidden beneath his mask, his eyes revealed his undeniable anxiety. Mu Er. An unprecedented wave of fear surged from Yi Wuchen's eyes. He had just saw her before she disappeared in front of him. His fear wouldn't retreat as he was worried that her disappearance was permanent. If she didn't come back again. No. I definitely wouldn't allow that. Nobody could snatch her away while she was in his sight. Otherwise, he would be unable to forgive himself throughout his entire life. Mu Er, I definitely won't allow anyone to snatch you away. Definitely. Yi Wuchen calmed his panicked heart. Under his mask, his exceptional face expressed a sinister smile. If his expression was seen by his subordinates, they would definitely know that their master was truly enraged this time. Judging by the circumstances, Mu Er should have gone to another dimensional space. No matter who it was, I will not let her to be snatched away from me, especially when it was directly before Ben Wang's sight. Son. At this moment, within another dimension, Ru Yue laid on the floor. Intense waves of pain barraged her head. She gradually opened her eyes and surveyed her surroundings with a curious gaze. Suddenly before her, an exceptional figure entered her sight. The man wore spotless white clothes reminiscent of snow. His white hair fluttered gently in the wind. When he lowered his gaze to focus on Ru Yue, his appearance was as handsome as an immortal as it displayed a complicated expression. You decided to come back. The man sighed. His black eyes were completely filled with sadness. It's a pity that I cannot personally come to see you, I can only just bring you to this place. Ru Yue raised her gaze to look at the man. It was unknown why his white hair seemed to tug at her heart. Unexpectedly, it gave her a familiar feeling. It was as though they had met each other before. Yet, she was confident that she hadn't met this man before. Moreover, he seemed to possess great powers. He was so strong, the strongest amongst anyone she had came across. Actually, I had felt your existence long ago when you first returned here from the other world. It was only recently that I had completely confirmed your existence. The man lowered his gaze to look at Ru Yue with his lips raised up into a faint smile. His smile was really extraordinary and unpolluted by the world. Who are you? Ru Yue's eyes slightly darkened. This man knew about her transmigration from another world? Suddenly, she felt Yan Jin shudder in her embrace, slightly tightening his hold on her arm. Yan Jin? Little girl, don't worry. I'm fine. It's just that the aura being given off from that man's body made me apprehensive. Yan Jin also didn't know why he was feeling unreasonable fear towards this man. Ru Yue lifted her head to look at that man, as though she was awaiting his answer. The man walked a step forward with a faint smile. It was so faint that it seemed invisible only, his black eyes gave off a light of sadness. He obviously looked lonely. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 110, An Acquaintance-like Person's Arrival Part 6. Chapter 110, An Acquaintance-like Person's Arrival Part 6. It is alright if you don't remember right now. You will surely recall it one day. My name is Bai Zhe. Bai Zhe lowered his gaze to look at Ru Yue, sadness in his eyes. She had still forgotten about me. That was right, how could the current her remember him? Bai Zhe? Ru Yue's heart slightly palpitated. She seemed to be really familiar with that name. She still didn't know why she felt such familiarity. All of a sudden, space warped. When Ru Yue focused, a silver figure entered her sight. The second Yi Wuchen saw Ru Yue, he released a sigh of relief. Following that, he raised his gaze towards the white-haired man. With ice in his eyes that were as dark as the night, he questioned, "Who are you? Why have you brought her here?" Bai Zhe looked shocked at Yi Wuchen's icy silver mask. With a bitter smile, he lamented, "So you both are still together. Mu Ruyu's brows slightly curved into a frown. She didn't have the slightest clue about what Bai Zhe was saying. A cold ray of light shone in Yi Wuchen's eyes. He moved in a flash to stand in front of Mu Ruyu's body. Under the icy silver mask, a sinister smile was displayed on his exceptional appearance. "I don't care who you are, but don't you even think of harming a single hair of her body." His voice was extremely domineering. He didn't place any importance on the exceptional-looking man before him. Bai Zhe glanced at him before lowering his gaze to look at the young girl being protected behind him. With slight pain in his eyes, he said, "It seems that you are still with him in this life. But it is also good this way. He can protect you. Currently, I cannot leave that place, so I will not be able to help you at all. But there will definitely be a day where we will meet. You must, however, be wary of one person. Her jealousy is truly strong. She definitely won't allow the two of you to be together." Once his words were spoken, Bai Zhe's figure slowly disappeared before them. The space then seemed to cleave in two. As they weren't paying attention, they began to fall. Yi Wuchen moved in a flash to be in front of Mu Ruyu before he steadily held her body, causing them to slowly descend to the ground. Once they were back on the main street, the crowd that personally saw Mu Ruyu and Yi Wuchen were shocked to see them appear once again, descending from the sky. Nobody knew what had happened. When Mu Ruyu raised her gaze to lock onto a pair of eyes filled with worry, her heart trembled slightly. Knitting her brows, she coldly asked, "Who are you?" "I." A sinister ray flashed past Yi Wuchen's eyes. Suddenly, he chuckled. His smile under the silver mask was exceptionally mesmerizing. With a slight curve of his lips, he confessed, "I am a person that has fallen for you." Mu Ruyu was startled for a moment before her gaze slowly chilled. She then noticed that this man was still hugging her. She couldn't help but frown again. "Let go of me." The man quirked his lips into a smile. His smile looked extremely charming. He was exceptionally good looking with it as it gave off a danger vibe. "I don't wanna." "You really aren't letting go of me?" Mu Ruyu's brows raised. With her voice filled with a boundless chill, she fumed, "I am giving you one final chance. Are you or are you not letting me go, Ot? No matter what you do, I definitely won't let you go." Yi Wuchen tightly embraced the young girl's body. With a smile, he swore to himself that he definitely wouldn't let go of her in this life. Mu Ruyu's eyes narrowed. She suddenly laughed with a smile that gave off a dangerous air. After that, she viciously punched Yi Wuchen's chest. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 111, I don't want to continue hiding behind the scenes. Chapter 111, I don't want to continue hiding behind the scenes. Yi Wuchen hummed with a melancholic air, but he didn't let go of her. With his eyes filled with happiness, he said, "Have you beaten me enough? If you haven't, I will let you hit me a couple more times, but I still definitely won't let you go." Mu Ruyu's gaze became increasingly frosty as she coldly stared at Yi Wuchen. His eyes kept giving her a familiar feeling. Pondering this, she automatically reached up to remove the silver mask from the man's face. But the instant she began to lift it, a hand securely gripped her wrist. There was still a smile on his face. With a sinister ray glimmering in his eyes, he moved his head to the side of Mu Ruyu's ear. With a seductive tone, he asked, "You want to see my appearance? But my appearance isn't that easily seen. It isn't impossible to see it, but you will have to exchange yourself for a glimpse. If you marry me, I'll let you see it. What do you think?" "My apologies, but I don't have any interest in you." Mu Ruyu withdrew her hand as she looked coldly at the man. "Especially when it's a man I don't know." The smile on the man's face didn't change. His hand tightly embraced her waist. "This is already our second meeting. Can it be that I'm still a stranger in your heart?" But it's fine. We'll get acquainted really soon. With his current identity, this was truly their second meeting. But if it was under the guise of the Ghost King, then they were already really familiar towards one another, to the point that his entire body was already seen. There was just one final step left. He wasn't in a hurry to get to the final step, as this girl would marry him sooner or later. Ru Yue's eyes narrowed. Who are you exactly? Have we met previously? Upon saying that, she clearly felt the hand that was embracing her tighten. After that, the silver-masked man revealed a charming smile as he said, "Isn't our first meeting during that recent pill assembly? You know that I'm not referring to that time." Ru Yue gave him a faint glance. "If that was really our first time, why did you help me? Moreover, what Bai Zhe said had made me really curious about who you are." Actually, it wasn't only Ru Yue. Yi Wuchen also didn't know what that white-haired man was talking about. But there was one thing that was certain: he had said someone wanted to destroy their relationship's development and planned to hurt them. No matter what, he definitely wouldn't allow such a matter occur. Yi Wuchen's expression slowly turned increasingly dark. With a sinister aura being emitted from his eyes, he looked like an Asura that had climbed out from hell. His aura would instill terror in people. When Ru Yue looked at the current Yi Wuchen, she slightly frowned. That familiar feeling might have been a mistake, as she never felt such a sinister aura before. This man definitely wasn't someone she knew. After a long time, that terrifying aura slowly dissipated. Yi Wuchen lowered his gaze to the young girl in his embrace. His arms subconsciously tightened. "No matter what that man meant, I won't permit anything to hurt you in the slightest. I'll protect you from harm's way for my entire life." The corner of Ru Yue's lips raised as she smiled coldly. "I still have to see that girl's capability in trying to harm me. On a second note, how long are you going to hug me for? Release me immediately." The man didn't say a word this time, but the arm that hugged her didn't relax in the slightest. He lowered his gaze to the exceptional appearance of the young girl before saying gently, "I don't want to continue hiding behind the scenes. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 112, I hate hiding behind someone's back. Chapter 112, I hate hiding behind someone's back. Yi Wuchen hadn't planned to use his current identity to appear before her. Ever since he left Phoenix City, he had planned to protect her from the shadows. After what just happened, he now realized that he could only manage to react to sudden situations if he was by her side. If there was a day where she truly disappeared in front of him for good, how much remorse would he feel and how long would he blame himself for? Hence, he no longer wanted to hide behind the scenes. Ru Yue's heart slightly tightened. She raised her gaze to look at the silver-masked man. "Who are you?" The man gave her a charming smile. With a love-filled gaze, he replied, "You will know who I am in the near future. I temporarily cannot tell you my identity for your safety, but..." It seemed that he really had to settle some of the matters troubling him as soon as possible so that he would be able to be together with her officially. Suddenly, Yi Wuchen's gaze became stern before he lifted Ru Yue and moved to the side in a flash. Following that, a pang was heard from behind them, and they turned around. A sword light had appeared before them, creating a large hole in the ground. A black-clothed man appeared before their eyes, and Ru Yue's gaze slightly narrowed upon seeing the man. With cold rays of light in her eyes, she exclaimed, "Ling Yi, you are still here." He was precisely Ling Yi, the one who had lost to Ru Yue at the pill assembly. Ling Yi coldly snorted with his lips curled into a cold smile. "Lady Mu, to be honest, there are not many who I, Ling Yi, admire in life. You, however, have done so. Thus, if you're willing to give the Phoenix Furnace to me, I'll spare your life. If not, regardless of if I'm impressed by you, I'll just kill you to obtain the Phoenix Furnace." Ru Yue smiled coldly. There wasn't the slightest bit of warmth on her exquisite face. "If you are capable, come and get it then. Since you had lost to me in pill refining, however, this only proves that your power is below mine and thus not enough for me to fear you. Ling Yi narrowed his gaze before speaking with a cold smile. Lady Mu, my aspiration isn't in pill refining, so my pill refinement indeed isn't as good as yours. On the other hand, my martial talent is stronger than my alchemy. If you pass that phoenix furnace to me, I'll definitely leave you with your life. Moreover, there are other people with higher qualifications than you have concerning the possession of the phoenix furnace. Lady, your power is insufficient, so naturally, you won't be able to possess it for the rest of your life. The phoenix furnace was the most treasured item in the pill assembly. His master wanted to steal the phoenix furnace that year, so, in return, he was expelled from the pill assembly. Currently, the phoenix furnace was in the hands of a little girl. How could his master stand it if he were to know of this? Moreover, if he passed the phoenix furnace to his master's alchemy level would definitely increase drastically. Leave this to me. Yi Wuchen grabbed on her hand as he said that gently. Unnecessary. Mu Yue shook her head as she shifted her gaze to Ling Yi and said, he is challenging me, so I will have to fight this match. I hate hiding behind someone's back anyway. Yi Wuchen focused his gaze on Mu Yue's resilient appearance. He suddenly chuckled. I always knew that you were a girl that dislikes being protected. I shall respect your decision. But if you are in any danger, I won't be able to just watch on. Wasn't it due to this difference in personality from other girls that made him admire her so much? When Mu Yue left Yi Wuchen's embrace, she threw Yan Jin, who had latched onto her body, into his embrace. Yi Wuchen, however, just threw Yan Jin onto the ground without any hesitation. He hadn't forgotten that this beast always stuck to his girl, so Wuchen didn't have the slightest trace of good feeling towards Yan Jin. He always disliked it when any human or beast got close to him, excluding Mu Yue. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 113, You Aren't My Match. Chapter 113, You Aren't My Match. Yan Jin raised his sorrowful gaze and focused on Mu Yue's back. This woman just casually tossed him aside and towards a man. Didn't she know that he, Yan Jin, only loved beauties and not men? Yet, when Yan Jin looked at Yi Wuchen, he frowned slightly. Why did he feel Ghost King Wuchen's presence from this man?